Okay, so here is a game against Milan Matulovic.
Yeah,
He played with white.
he played with white. Well, Matulovic was leading grandmaster from Yugoslavia in that time. He was usually the third or fourth table of the Yugoslav Olympic team. And they had also a very, very strong Olympic team. Gligoric was first board, and afterwards Ivkov second, Matanovic third usually, and Matulovic fourth. And that team, from time to time, they took silver or bronze at the Olympic Games. You know, they were so strong.
Oh, really?
They competed always with the Soviets for the first places. You know, together with the Americans and English team and so on, and the Hungarian also. And they were very dangerous, of course. And Matulovic was, as I told you before, one of the best, their best players. And we'll see a very interesting game here. The game was decisive. If I could win this game, I had a very good chance to qualify for the interzonal. We played this game at the zonal tournament in Finland, in Helsinki in 72.
All right.
Okay, he played with white, and we had a Sicilian. Okay, I took in d4, he took knight f6, knight c3, a6. Well, until now is a knight dwarf position here, you know. And after bishop g5, we have again the Richter-Rauser attack against the knight dwarf. You know? So e6, and after f4, I played this move, which is a little bit rare, knight bd7, because that gives the possibility for white to play the bishop immediately, the bishop from f1 to c4. That is considered to give a good advantage for white, if you give him the chance, bishop c4. But if this is so dangerous or not, we'll see in the game, you know. Usually because of this, instead of knight bd7, the main variation is bishop e7, b5 or queen c7. I mean, controlling the squared c4, not giving the chance to play immediately bishop c4. But I played in a few games, very important games, and I didn't lose any game. I had always quite a good game for black. So I said, okay, we can try. Yeah. So I gave him the possibility to play. This is the main line. If you have the bishop in c4, this move is always very good. You attack the pawn from b3, and after bishop b3, the normal move, now you have in many positions the possibility to put the knight in c6, in c5, and you control the square from e6. You defend the pawn from e6, you know, and that is more or less even game. Yeah. So okay, bishop 7, and now after f5, knight c5. Okay, knight from c5 has a very good position, and white has to demonstrate that the advantage is there. If a little bit, you know, better for white or not, we'll see. But in any case, it's a very complicated game, and I wanted to have a complicated game because of my chance to qualify for the interzonal. You know, I had to try to play for win here in this game. So he took, I took, and now he came back in to bishop e3. Instead, he could play queen e2, and after queen e2 and knight take b3, knight take b3, I could castle, and the game was more or less even. I played against Ljubojevic in some other tournament in Spain, and our game was draw without too many problems. I mean, black has the, you know, normal position, and finally we drew the game. Yeah. So bishop e3 is very complicated. We'll see. Queen c7, because after bishop e3, he threatened already to take in e6.
So with the knight.
With the knight, because you know the diagonal, he controls the diagonal e3 to b6. So
yes,
you have to be careful. You know, queen b7, okay, and now castle. Okay, now you have to move something. Castle was already very dangerous because he had the good move knight f5, and white is better instead of b5. If you castle immediately, then knight f5 gives advantage for white. You know,
because he's pinned.
He's pinned, and you have to accept the fact that he can take in e7, and there white has a very good chance to attack. You know. Okay, so queen f3, and now we'll see what happens. Now castle. Now, okay, what to do with white? It's not the same. Now,
the same?
after knight f5 b4, or even knight takes b3, the game is very unclear and black has a good game. So we had time to castle. That is very important. So he tries to do something very quickly, immediately, by a tactical way. And it seems it's very dangerous for black.
Yeah, the rook is
Now you
attacked.
have. If you move the rook, you are lost, of course, because you lose the knight.
Yeah.
So now you have to accept the complications and give the exchange. So I took in e5. I took in e5, and now if he takes immediately in a8, he's probably lost. We take in d4, and later on we move the bishop on the big diagonal, and it's very dangerous for white. Probably you are lost here. So he has to be careful also, and he played queen c6. But queen c6 is very unclear because everything is more or less, forced now. Now the best move is rook a7. Okay, so now you have to take in c7, we took, and knight f5. Okay, that was a small surprise for him, bishop d8. Now he has to demonstrate what happens here with black has a pawn. The pawn is almost weak, let's say, but is an extra pawn. So what can white do? He takes in c5, he took, and knight d6. That was the analysis from my opponent. He probably thought that white is better because if he takes in c8, there's a very good chance to attack the pawn from e6, and okay, the position is bad for black. So now you have to move the bishop to d7, and he has time to play knight b7. Okay. So now if you go back with the rook, he has time to take in d8, and the game is more or less okay for white, because you have a weak pawn from e6. If he takes back somehow the pawn later on, white could be better, But now, after rook takes c3, very unpleasant surprise for white, and everything is forced now. Rook, bishop b6 check, king h1, and now knight e4. He took, I took, and he played a4. And now I had the impression that black is winning in every position, and I played very quickly the move bishop c6. But it was much better to play bishop c8.
But here it wasn't better to come with the rook on the e file.
Yeah, that if he comes there, simply king e7 and black is okay. The same threat, knight f2 check.
No, I mean attacking the knight.
If he attacks the knight, he loses the knight, of course. He loses the knight after bishop c6.
Okay, this knight is will be trapped here.
Not only this, but you can lose also the rook. After rook e1, you can give you check in f2, king g1, and knight d3 check, and you lose the rook.
Yes.
And later on, you lose also the knight. Finally, the knight from b7. So now you have to be very careful. This is completely lost for white. You have to play king f1, and you lose the exchange, and finally you have many problems with the knight from b7, and you lose the knight.
Which is trapped almost, yeah.
So, now a4 is the only move, and now if you look at this position, bishop c8 was much better. I played bishop c6. It seems black is completely winning,
Yes.
But after bishop c6, he has a small chance to save the knight, Unbelievable, But he played here knight a5, an unbelievable move.
Yes.
And if you take in a5, he takes in b5, and he attacks the two bishops.
Oh, yes.
And you have no time to do something, because it's too late.
Yes.
So probably he draws the game. But if you played the bishop from c8, you win an extra tempo and you have an extra piece, So that was the big difference. You move again this position after a4. Look, the difference. Bishop c8. Now, if you play knight a5, we take in a5, and when we play in b5, we move the bishop, and it's very big difference.
Yeah,
you win. So, I played bishop c6, and we have to win the game the second time, again. The game was completely winning before. Now we have to demonstrate that we win even this position. We couldn't win the knight, but we have to try to demonstrate that we have a winning position. It's very difficult, of course, because he puts a fantastic fight from here, White is clearly worse, but he tried to save the game, and we'll see what happens later on. It's very interesting position and very interesting game. So, okay, bishop e4. I took, and he took there. And now after knight e3, we attack everything. We attack g2, c2. It seems again black is completely winning, but it's very unclear. H3, very good move to have a chance to go somewhere with the king. I mean, the king is okay, let's say in H2, is no mated or no
Yes.
direct threat against the king. So king e7, very good move. He has to move the bishop, of course. And now, okay, we took in g2, very nice position, but you have to win. Not clear, bishop, knight e3, again, we want to take the pawn, or even more. Knight b3, he has to activate a little bit the knight, and threaten to come in with the rook in a6, a8, somewhere, with the open line. Okay, we are much better, but again, it's not easy. Rook a6, okay, if you take in b3 and he takes there, you have nothing, So now we took in g4 and we move the bishop. If the position is lost or not, you have to see. It seems that black has a very strong initiative, but for the moment you have to have a more active position for your king. If you arrive with your king, then you have a very good chance to win. We try to do this, we'll see, but it's not so easy. So finally we attack the pawn, he gives check, and now you have a chance to arrive a little with the king. King g3 is not so good. It was better to play king h3. And now it's a small difference. We had time to play king g5 because you can't take in e5, you lose the knight. If you take in e5, after bishop f4, you are lost. So therefore, king g3 was a small mistake in time trouble, But from here, black has a very good chance to win, you see. Knight d8. So, okay, check. You have to move. And now, finally, our king is very active. Now, king is, strong. But it's not finished, not yet. h5. So check.
So you give up a pawn here.
I give, you have to play very active, here and there, the h pawn is very quick, therefore we threaten h4 is almost there, if you have time to play h4 and h3, it's finished, it's much too late,
Almost queen.
So, almost queen. So now is a race, of course, again. So e4, because e4 was very good against the threat knight d6 check, that is the idea.
Okay, protect.
Now, if you play h4 immediately, he had time to give a check in d6 and then come quickly with the knight in e4, and maybe he could save the game. Maybe. So now, from now on, again, is a race. Check, king h3. Okay, finally, he has time to arrive with the knight, but again, it's too late because now we have time to give one check. This check is decisive. You see, the two bishops are fantastic. The two bishops are very, very strong. And in every position, we can threaten some mates, So the only move is king e1. Yeah. And now, bishop f3, Zugzwang. Now, you have the possibility to give one last check in g3, and is almost made, So he played, still in very big time trouble, he played knight d3, and after bishop g3 check, okay, he took in g3, and I took in g3, and he resigned. But he has no alternative here, because he loses another piece. If he goes in f1, after e2 check, and king g1, and e1 check, and you lose the knight, and afterwards you lose the game with two bishops and free pawn against one rook, and that is much too much. Very sharp game and very important theoretically, and finally I had a very good chance to qualify with this victory, But the game was very, very interesting. Yeah. Okay, now it's very easy because the pawn comes, to h4, h3, and it's immediately finished. Yeah.
Nice.
This is chess, but very nice. Yeah, very nice.